So this past week was a bit of a strange week for us. Last weekend, my father turned 75, which was a cause for rejoicing and also a moment to reflect on 3/4 of a century of living. He's aware of where he is in his life's journey, of the reality of what has been and what is left, as are all of us who love him. Such a momentous birthday brings up a lot, right? Memories from the past and wonderings about the future. That same day, I learned that someone that I grew up with, someone I had known from the time we were 4 years old, died very unexpectedly at age 42, leaving behind a husband and a young daughter. We hadn't spoken in decades, but on Tuesday, I, along with hundreds of others, attended her memorial to remember this special person. And memories just flooded back of when we were young and sleepovers and giggles and watching movies and growing up together. Also this week, I spent a very long time at the doctor one day, getting my now weekly checkup to make sure this baby's okay, and then getting iron injected directly into my veins to make sure I'm okay. It was a reminder of the fragility of all things and of our lack of control of even the things that happen inside our bodies often. Later in the week, we took a trip to the storage unit to try and work on the shuffling of things, the getting rid of things, the making of space there so that other things can leave the apartment, so the baby can come into the apartment. We made hard decisions about things to let go of, and I was honest about what I could not face a decision about yet. And we made plans for how to move the project along. And then Friday, I managed to splash boiling water all over my hand and wrist, I promise I'm fine, while I was cooking dinner. And I employed a lesson from 20 years ago about burn care and minimize the damage to my skin, but of course couldn't manage to finish making dinner and had to rely on everyone else to get all the work done that night. And now I've been banned from the kitchen for a while, which, like, fair enough, but I'm also real mad about it. I feel salty. And I felt foolish, of course. It was a week, y'all. It was a week. It was a week of confronting the passage of time, of trying to let go, of learning again for the umpteenth time that I cannot control all the things and that perfection is impossible. These are hard lessons. I think they are the lessons of a lifetime. They are the work of a lifetime. And I suspect that I am not alone in encountering them again and again and again. Because in truth, we live in a culture that largely wants us to resist aging or pretend it doesn't happen. We live in a culture that asks us to contribute and contribute again at the expense of our health and our rest. We live in a culture that offers us an illusion of control and doesn't generally teach us how to let go of that control. We live in a culture that has us holding on tight, so tight, to possessions, to ideologies, to people, to places. Now, to be fair, not everyone falls prey to these cultural norms. There are whole movements of people interested in possessing less, in being exploited less, and in aging gracefully. There are whole movements of folks interested in stepping off the capitalist treadmill that tells us to produce and earn and spend and avoid fragility and deny the passage of time at any cost. There are whole movements out there asking us, inviting us to slow down. I've spoken up here before about the nap ministry, the call of Tricia Hershey to treat rest as holy resistance to the exploitation and oppression of our world. We've spoken about the idea of reducing our materialism as a way of living more in sync with this earth that we share. We've spoken about what it means to grieve and forgive and to learn to let go, even as we do hold tight to what truly matters. And we speak here all the time about how to intentionally make the most of these too brief lives we are given. So the movements are out there, but for most of us, we are steeped in a culture of capitalism, control, and holding on tight. And that story of the glove on the train, whether it is a call to release in summer or fall or winter or spring, How many of us would have tossed the matching glove onto the seat and watched it roll away? I honestly don't think I would have. I don't think it would have occurred to me. And yet that seems like an obvious answer when we hear it. Better that the pair live on the seat awaiting a new owner than that I cling to one in the hope that perhaps one day I'll replace it or I'll relocate that one that just rolled away on the train. It reminds me too of the likely apocryphal story of How to Catch a Monkey. I don't know if you've heard this, where you put out a jar with a nut inside it or a banana piece or some other treat. You have a string around the jar, and along comes a monkey looking for a treat, sticks its hand in, grabs the treat, holds on tight with a fist, and then can't get the hand back out of the jar because the fist can't come back through the opening. Too foolish to let go, the monkey is now caught. If it could only release the fist, it could get free of the jar and be free. Sometimes the fist that will not release is the world around us. Our work, our obligations, our culture, our family, and we feel almost unable to stop and let go and be free. And sometimes the fist is of our own making. The narratives about ourselves that we have bought into, our own insistence to not yield or bend, our fear, our hopes, and we aren't sure how to change course. But there are invitations all around. Now, tomorrow is Labor Day. This day was called for and created in the late 1800s. While these days it's a 3-day weekend often used for mini vacations or picnics or family gatherings, for days in the park or by the pool, back when folks were attempting to secure this day, they had to strike. The first Labor Day in 1882 was in New York City. Workers that participated in small, discrete unions were invited to strike from work, join a very large parade, and then eat and drink and listen to speeches after the parade was over. The goal was to create links across small unions to leverage greater power and get not only a day for recognizing the contributions of laborers, but also to negotiate ultimately for better working hours in general, to attempt to reduce what was at the time a 70-hour work week among manufacturers and laborers. And they met with success. By 1894, the day was a national holiday, and by 50 years later, the work week had indeed reduced in hours and days. Those who struck and protested and insisted on Labor Day were drawing boundaries as a way to take a step back from the productivity they had been forced into, a step back from being used as tools and toiling relentlessly, a step forward into greater rest and celebration and joy. And so Labor Day can be for us not just a fun time with families, but an invitation, a reminder that we can insist on change in the world around us. We're allowed to declare our need for time and space, our need for rest, for relief, our need to not be constantly grinding. We are allowed to insist that the fist loosen its grip on us. And all year long, through each season, the natural world affords an opportunity, an invitation to follow its example and loosen our own fists. We're invited to acknowledge the coming and going of seasons, the passages of time, as births and deaths in human life and the world beyond cycle on and on. In this moment, as September begins, we're invited to intentionally recognize this transitional period between the ending of summer and the calling of autumn. And we're invited not to let go as a means of giving up, but rather to let go so that we don't remain stuck, and so that we can turn to what comes next. Not letting our fears and hopes and stubbornnesses and desire for control get in the way of embracing what will be. So this morning, we're going to begin to answer this invitation together in a ritual of letting go. The time that we will share, that we're going to come into now, will be contemplative and, as always, is entirely voluntary. Each moment of the meditation and ritual will be yours to partake in as you feel comfortable. So the first step is we're going to circulate some baskets. I'll ask Jan and Cecilia for help. In the baskets are flower petals. In the opening words, I mentioned our flower celebration that we do in early June. In that celebration, if you've never been present, you can go ahead and, you can go ahead and, they can take and pass, or you can walk through the line, whatever works best. Oh, one, you just need one. You can take two if you want, because there's plenty, but you only need one. If you've never participated in our flower celebration, during that service, we are each gifted with a flower as a reminder of our unique beauty that is made more glorious when we come together. So today, as summer is on its way out and we are on the horizon of that time when the brightly colored flowers give way to the rusty hues of fall, we will again use flowers in our ritual. You can, as you've taken the petal, you can just hold it loosely in your palm. If you'd rather not take one, that's fine too. Folks at home on Zoom, if you have a flower petal nearby, you're welcome to grab one, or a piece of paper, or just let your palms be empty, but you'll do the imagining work. So no, please don't eat them. The first thing I'm going to do is ask you to take a breath. We do this when we come into our meditation time on Sunday mornings. We take a breath together. We allow our individual bodies to come into the stillness that they are able to find. So only do what feels comfortable for your body. Let the breath come. If it feels good to close your eyes, you can do that. Just let yourself be here in the moment. You might want to take a moment to smell or touch the petal in your hand. Come to know its textures, its colors, and then just breathe. Breathe in the way that feels right to your individual body. And just be here. As we breathe, I'm going to read to you a poem by my colleague, the Reverend Peter Friedrichs, and it's called Release. I wish I were like the trees, who let their leaves go gracefully without regret, or the tumbling stream that flushes silt to sea, exchanging murkiness for blessed clarity, or the dandelion, who bows its head to the subtle breeze, unleashing its future without fear or loss. Instead, I drive white-knuckled, defensive, as we were taught, tense and guarded for what may come my way. I keep a death grip on life. If you asked me for my dying wish, it would not be for 10 more wishes. It would be to let go of wishing anymore. Wishing I'd made different choices, that I hadn't hurt you as I did, and to forego those old and dusty grudges that I keep like pictures in a shoebox beside my bed. I long to embrace my life. Precious, tender, true. Instead, regret and fear, twin anchors, hold me fast, close in against the shore. Cast off, I hear them call from the open, exotic lands my heart yearns for. But the waters in between my here and theirs hold unknown hazards. This day, a prayer to ease my grip on what once was, or what is meant to be, that I may find myself content to drift and float upon life's boundless sea. I'll ask you to take another breath. And another. We can cultivate a different way. We can let go of shoulds and musts and insist on something else. Could be's and maybes. We can hold our boundaries and insist on rest and celebration and joy. We can let go, and in the process, let in something new, new thoughts, new relationships, new ideas, new priorities, new narratives, new rejoicing. We can let go. We can find freedom from regrets and fears and self-recrimination, from anger and even from grief. We can let go. And first, we have to confront what we are holding too tightly. So if you are holding a petal, or even if your palm is empty, take a breath and let your fist close. Let it clench, let it tighten. Make a fist. What is inside that fist you are making? What does the petal represent? What story, what feeling, what outside pressure has been holding you fast, keeping you trapped? What, if you let it go, would allow you to move into the next season, your next season? What, if you let it go, will bring a sense of relief, of freedom? What has been weighing on your body, your soul, your mind? We'll come into some silence, and you are invited to dwell on what needs to be let go. Keep breathing. Take a breath and then another. And then as you wish, you are invited to come forward. Release your fist and let your petal fall to the table. If there's no petal, you can just release. You can do this in silence. If you want to, you can speak aloud what you are letting go of, or you can speak a simple phrase like, I let go, or I release, whatever you are comfortable with. Friends on Zoom, you're invited to type that into the chat, what you're letting go of, or a simple phrase of release. So you're welcome to come up as you will.